Hey, it is Mike the NBA guy here, and pretty recently, there's been a meme going around in the NBA community about Andre Drummond because he went out there and he said some quote like, um, the center position is returning to the league because you got bigs like Joel, Jokic, me, Bam, Nurkic, and he named like a couple other centers, and everyone was clowning him because he decided to sneak his name in there as the elite centers who are bringing back the center position. And you know, it's funny, okay? I laughed. Obviously, obviously, Andre Drummond is not on the level of a Joel Embiid or a Nikola Jokic or Bam Adebayo. But it got me thinking, how good is Andre Drummond actually at the moment? Because his value, I mean, the dude was traded for like Brandon Knight and a second round pick to the Cavs, okay? He's almost worthless by the Pistons standards. Although, is that accurate, or is that just because no one happened to want him at the time, and therefore the Pistons wanted to get rid of him instead of losing him for nothing as a free agent? How valuable is he really in the modern NBA? Is he even a top 10 center anymore at the moment? So that's what I wanted to look at today. Now, personally, I have a very low opinion of Andre Drummond in general, because as a Sixers fan, else who is a Sixers fan knows Drummond. I cannot pronounce things right now. Sorry. Andre Drummond is Joel Embiid's fucking bitch. Okay, like there are a couple centers in the league who Embiid owns. All right, Karl Anthony Towns, Hassan Whiteside are definitely two of them. John Collins, if you count him as a big. Andre Drummond is probably the worst one, though. Joel Embiid owns so much real estate in this man's head. Alright, his numbers against Embiid are pathetic. So, in the games I've watched, which are 99% Sixers games, and I'll be honest, I've never really seen a proper game with Andre Drummond in it that didn't have Joel Embiid beating his ass, because the man's been on the Pistons, and now he's on the Cavs, and look, I'm not going to sit there and watch a Pistons game to see Andre Drummond and injured Blake Griffin. Okay? I don't care enough. And don't even get me started on the Cavs. Alright? So, I'm not going to pretend that I've seen a ton of Andre Drummond, so most of what I'm saying is going off stats. Alright, now his stats over the last few years have been pretty respectable, specifically looking at like the last two seasons. He's averaging about 17 to 18 points, 15 to 16 rebounds, which has been leading the league and is very impressive. And if you look at percentage-wise, he's actually rebounding on an all-time great level. Not just for this era, but if you look at like all-time rebounds, he's basically averaging the same amount, if not more rebounds than like Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell did in their day, if you adjust for pace and shots. Okay, Drummond in the 60s would probably be averaging like 25 rebounds a game. Okay, the dude is a ridiculously good rebounder. He's very efficient from the field, 53%. Excuse me, pretty consistently over the last couple years, stayed right at 53%. Obviously the 15 rebounds is very impressive. 2 steals and 2 blocks a game for the last few seasons have been his averages, and that's pretty impressive. Okay, he's pretty good at stealing the ball. Now, obviously, steals are an incredibly flawed defensive stat, and even blocks are to an extent. Alright, but 2 steals and 2 blocks on only 3.5 fouls a game, that's definitely not bad. Those are pretty solid numbers. Alright, he's a pretty solid defender, and most of the advanced stats point, especially in the last 2 seasons, to him being an above-average defender. He's certainly not an all-defense team kind of guy. He can, and I mean, I've watched him, he can be kind of lazy on that end. He's very slow, but he's a solid enough rim protector. He's definitely not a big negative on that end. He's no Nikola Jokic or Karl Anthony Towns. You know, you're not getting killed having Andre Drummond on the floor in the post, even if he cannot defend the perimeter for shit. His assist numbers are pretty bad. He's only averaged 3 assists once in his career. He averages about 2.5 for the most part, so not a very good passer, considering the dude plays about 33 minutes a game on average. 33 to 34 minutes and only 3 assists. That's not very good, especially considering he's like the main focal point of the Pistons teams he's been on, or like their second best player, so you'd think the dude would be passing the ball a little bit more, but it's hard to criticize him too much because Embiid's not a whole lot better. And also, like, he averages more turnovers a game than assists. 3.5 turnovers compared to 3 assists, and it's honestly less than 3 assists. So that's pretty bad. His 3-point percentage is atrocious. This year was like the second highest 3-point percentage of his career, and while he was on the Cavs specifically, he shot 28% from three. Overall, let me see, it rounded into 14% from three this season if you count all his threes. And it's basically anywhere outside the paint, this dude is a brick. Okay, this man cannot shoot. He's 14% from three, 57% from the free throw line, and 57% is actually better than he shot for most of his career, because for the first half of his career, the dude only shot freaking like 38% from the free throw line. That's pathetic. Okay? I could probably shoot 38% with my eyes closed from the free throw line, and I don't think I'm even joking. Like, low-key, I probably think I could, because you're literally just, dude, you're standing there 10 feet away. Like, come on now. That's pathetic. But, that's not him anymore. We're talking about him right now. And right now, he shoots a semi-respectable 57%, 55% from the free throw line. So, could be worse, I guess, even if he's still pretty atrocious. So overall, it sounds like he's a pretty alright player looking at the stats, right? But the issue is, between the free throw shooting and the three-point shooting, when he's talking about the revitalization of the big man in the modern NBA, Andre Drummond is everything that is not a modern big man. Okay, he can't shoot threes. He's an alright defender, but he's not an elite defender, and he has absolutely no switchability. Alright, he's not a good passer like Jokic. He can't shoot threes like Karl Anthony Towns. He can't guard the perimeter like Bam. And he's just not a dominant scorer like Joel Embiid is, or dominant defender like Joel Embiid is. So he doesn't really have what most of the modern centers has. He can't handle the ball. The steal and block numbers are very nice, but they're not, contributing to being like an amazing defender or anything. And if I was to compare him to most modern centers, or I should say to like the better centers in the league right now, I would say that he's probably around number 10. Like, he's clearly not a top 5 center, okay? In my opinion, the top 5 centers are, without question and in no particular order, Embiid, Jokic, Bam, Cat, and Gobert. Okay, those are the top 5 centers in the NBA right now. I don't think there's any debate for that. Obviously, Anthony Davis is a power forward, or I would have him in there over either Gobert or Bam. But, like, there's no question those are the 5 best. And then, also better than Drummond, I would say Vucevic is a guy I would definitely consider better than Andre Drummond. And then that's where it kind of gets questionable, because then you got a lot of centers who are, like, solid starters, but definitely not stars. Jokic was really good before he got hurt this year. You got guys like Clint Capella, Steven Adams, Andre Drummond obviously is in there. Aaron Baines had a weird breakout season. LaMarcus Aldridge, if you consider him a center, he's pretty dang good. Miles Turner's alright sometimes. Miles Turner's a weird player. It's just like there's a lot of solid guys. Andre Drummond is around there. The issue is Andre Drummond doesn't play like a role-playing center, though. He doesn't play like a Steven Adams. If Andre Drummond played like Steven Adams, and to be fair, okay, before I get into this, I don't blame too much of that on Drummond, because he's been playing on a trash Pistons team, okay? When the only other halfway decent players on your team for the last several years are Blake Griffin, who gets hurt every other day, and Derrick Rose, who also gets hurt every other day. Let's be real, the man's still ridiculously injury prone. Those are the only two, like, starting caliber players the man has played with, alright? And then this season, if you want to count, I can't think of his name. Crispy Flakes would be killing me right now. But the Pistons have a young shooting guard. I believe he's a shooting guard. Young, really good shooter. Luke Kennard. That's it. Luke Kennard. Really solid young player. But, like, other than them, they haven't had any starting caliber players on that team. Okay, their team's garbage. And Drummond has been doing a good job on that team, okay? He takes a lot of shots, but he's pretty efficient in the paint. 17 points. He gets his rebounds. He does good enough on defense. So I'm not trying to say that he's necessarily should be a role-playing center, but he just doesn't have a clear space in the NBA because obviously he's not good enough to be the best player on the team. And in fact, he's not good enough to be the second best player on a good team, all right? However, if you could put him on a team, I see, I don't even know if he would be good on a team like the Celtics because they really need a center, but he's not an elite defender, and also he needs his shots. I feel like he could be a pretty solid third option on a team. The problem is, I just don't see a good team for him in the NBA right now, and especially not one that's going to pay him. Because I think the man wants to get paid like an all-star because he's been a two-time all-star, but he's just not actually an all-star talent. He just happens to be in a very weird place in the modern NBA where his game is very quickly getting outdated and belonging in the past, and he's just not adjusting because the dude's not a shooter, and let's face it, Andre Drummond is never going to be a shooter. No matter how much he says he's working on that three-point shot, it's never going to happen. Okay, the dude has insanely flawed shooting mechanics, and he's never. I will absolutely eat my words if he comes out next season and shoots league average from three, or even 30% from three, and like over 60% from the free throw line would be amazing for him because he is just atrocious outside the paint. I'm realizing now I don't have a super clear conclusion for this video. Because I'm just not sure. I don't know how good Andre Drummond is. I would say he is a top 10 center in the league, but definitely not top 5. And I don't know, he's probably going to get a decent payday of like, I feel like he should get paid somewhere around like 15 mil a year. With as much as players get paid in the modern NBA, I think he could be deserving of a $15 to $20 million contract. But I'm not sure he's going to get it because the center position is just so weird right now. I don't know if there's any team with the space who's going to be willing to give him the kind of money he wants. I would not be shocked if he gets like a $12, $13 million deal this offseason. So I don't really know. We'll see what happens, but I really don't know. I think he could find a role, but it's just going to be very situational for Andre Drummond if he can be a legit contributor on a decent team. So yeah, that's my video for today. Just wanted to talk about Andre Drummond. He's a meme right now, so I thought it was a good time to capitalize on that and give my thoughts on him. If you enjoyed this video, please like, please subscribe, and please check out some of the other content on my channel. I would really appreciate it. Thank you.